Hey guys, this is Kirob speaking, and in today's video I'm going to provide you with a bit of an overview of our road from the demo release to release of the full game. And let's start out with the general reception and takeaway from the Steam Festival demo release. Overall, we have seen that the demo was quite well received, and also the game mechanics as a whole, as well as the style of the game, that it's fresh and so on, all really positive things. And what is very nice for the developer to see is that the things that people had problems with were things that we knew were wrong or poorly implemented so far, and we have plans on fixing them anyway, or they're just things missing that will solve these issues. And that was through the bank, that was basically the case. There were no real surprises in there, which is great, because what you don't want to have is a situation where you as a developer sit there and think like, oh yeah, we have the best thing ever, and then people are like, oh no mate, this is shit. So that didn't happen. But also what would be awful, actually, would be that people said, oh, this is the best thing ever. Where we, as the developers, really know, no, at the moment, really it isn't. Because there's so many things that are very much worthy of improvement before they can be considered great. I think what is there at the moment is a solid foundation and a good game. But as you learn more and more about it and play it, you will see that there are things missing in there, in the mechanics as well as the presentation and so on, that make it a lesser title. And that is, of course, something that we are going to address in the coming weeks before release. So, with that being said, what is the general plan of it all? Well, you can see here that I'm in the developer version of the game, and career mode is actually something that is there but not polished up, and has features missing and so on. And yeah, you can actually start a campaign. In my testing previously, like even half a year ago or so, I've played several seasons through with most of the mechanics being in. Is it good yet? No, far from it. And that is what we are going to work on before we can give you a taste through more videos and so on, until you can play it yourself if you then buy the game. Because that, of course, is not going to be part of the demo. It is generous enough as is with the single races. But yeah, lots of content, of course, in the single races as well, with full customizability. And these things being hooked in as well. But okay, let's get into an actual overview of what is going to come. And also, I want to answer the question of, will the demo be updated and what is going to be in it? Well, our plans for the demo in general is that whenever we make fixes and changes that would affect the demo content, then the demo will be updated within a reasonable time frame. And let me pull up the development plan as a whole, and let's take a look at it. So what you're seeing in this list is basically a weekly schedule that is split into sections of Thursdays till Wednesdays. And Wednesdays is patch days. And patch days means that you are going to get an update to the demo with the latest stuff. That won't happen every week, but you see these marked in red here with patch release, the big bold red addendums to the line it is mentioned in. And yes, so everything that is marked in red is demo relevant. So there will be a lot of updates to the demo while we are headed towards release. And as you could see on the Steam page, that release is supposed to be in June. And also I of course need to say that, well, as you can see, this is a pretty dense schedule. We sure think we will be able to pull that off, but this is dense enough that if something goes wrong, then there might be delays. And of course, things tend to go wrong, but yeah, on the other hand, we do have a bit of margin in there, but not much. So yes, something to look out for is potential delays. But so far, this has been, well, it's designed so that that is actually doable. We have gone through in detail, and we have basically all designs ready and so on for these things to happen. And we know very well what is required to do that in most aspects. So in general, I think this is possible to pull off, unless something unforeseen and big comes in the way. And we are aiming for a mid-June release in that way. But yeah, we shall see about that, and I will of course keep you informed via the little dev updates as we progress along this timeline you see here. So the first section of it is basically polishing up the demo some more. And what you see in the list is basically doing the UI stuff, in-race UI stuff, and various fixes for the demo. That is this week, which is right now coming to an end. And what we will see today is also a patch release, and a video for that is being done separately to this one. But each week you will see, going forward for the next 3 weeks, we will have the same schedule, as in we develop for a week and fix various issues, address game mechanics issues, that's the GM being noted there, AI issues, and of course lots of UI stuff that just makes the game more playable. And this will be on a weekly release schedule for the demo, and most of it is demo relevant anyway. Alright, and then in mid-March we start to pretty much fully focus on the campaign stuff, with a few things for the demo thrown in there which need to be done for the full game anyway. Something like the saving, loading, and packing for the saves, which currently are like 20 different files, and instead of having 20 different files, it should be one. Of course, that is not really impacting you, but that's just an example of a little thing that is quite a bit of work, and that really needs to get done before we fully release. But also we are throwing in something like in week 12, for instance, you see that we are planning on having some more graphics updates to the game. And see, like we have a big list of things that we want to include. Not everything will make it into the game, obviously, or until release, we should say. But we pick the ones that make the most sense, which give you the biggest bang for the time and effort they take. And the things that affect people the most. So, for instance, in week 12, we have a bit of leeway there with nothing major being planned, no major new features, but rather graphics updates, in-race stuff, whatever is on the highest up and on the list of fixes required. And then we do a patch release that includes all these things for the demo. As you can see, we are then on a kind of free weekly update schedule for the demo while developing the campaign in the background. And you can read what's roughly in there. Most of the campaign stuff is done as we speak right now. And it's mostly about polishing up and adding a few more screens that are information screens mostly. Also in mid-March, after we have basically checked that the career is playable again, there is still a little bug in there which is holding you up. It's easy fix probably, but this is currently game stopping. Like if that is fixed and we just test it once again in-house and get it sorted, then mid-March we can start getting some of the testers on the job to give the campaign as is a good go and see where the points of friction are, and if what we have planned to implement already is fixing that or not. And then once we have that out of the way, we just start implementing what's missing. And from there, have those rolling patches every 3 weeks. Go forward, implement more stuff, like a new tutorial is coming. Basically a 7.5, something that better connects the non-team riding to tutorial 8, where you all of a sudden are thrown into the full race. So there's someone observed, or several people actually observed that, yeah, it's quite the gap between the first section of tutorials, 1 through 7, and then being thrown into the race. So yes, there will be something else thrown in there, for instance. Stuff like that. It was great to see to have the demo out there for people to play it, and most of the feedback we have received was quite valuable in that it was well worded, described the issues well, and didn't focus too much on giving solutions, but rather describing the issues that were faced, which is very valuable. Like, solutions usually aren't valuable because you don't know if those solutions even work for what is there, or, well, unless you're a very involved game designer and or programmer, you probably are not quite aware how to put solutions in there. But anyway, that's aside. Rant aside. One thing that you see marked in a different color here, the purple tactics screen, is something that we have as a bit of a stopgap. And that is, if we are seeing that up to that point, week 20, we are running out of time and we are behind schedule, then that one would be shifted until after release, because it's a nicely compartmentalized off part of the in-race stuff. It is basically a screen where you have a full tactics overview of the race that is ongoing with all the current standings and all that for planning. You can pin riders, you can mark competitors and so on to follow them in the race. With some of the other basics that we will have put into the game at that point, it is not entirely necessary to play the game. And as you've seen already, you basically have a completely blind flying version. That is something that would, of course, benefit the game, but it's not important enough to for such a big and difficult to implement feature to delay the release for. So that is the one thing that we would pull out and put after release instead, with a free patch, of course. And then as we get towards June, it becomes more and more generalized in what we are planning to do. More graphics updates, some polishing here and there. General to-do list stuff basically means whatever the top issues are, like crashes, bugs, but also things that we wished were in the game or fixed or made different. Those things all, but are not in this list, they are all on the general to-do list. And it's a big list. I mean, it has over 100 items on it at the moment, and they are sorted by priority. But yes. Anyway, and the last weeks will, of course, not see too much touching of things that can break a lot of other things, but rather polishing up AI work, tweaks here and there, and then preparing for launch, hopefully mid-June. So as you can see, I think you would agree that it is quite worth following the development and from time to time checking out the demo as it gets more and more goodies implemented and polish applied. Last but not least, I want to say that the plans are that there will be a weekly little dev update that is coming out along with the patch, on Wednesdays, Wednesdays our time, that comes out and talks about the development that has been happening over the week and what other things are relevant to talk about at that point. So little dev updates are important in that if you want to follow along, and I think this looks quite worthy following, but you are the judge of that. Anyway, I hope you will follow along the ride and enjoy it, and I hope to see you soon.